Welcome, welcome. I think I'm live. I've got a whole new system going on. And I believe that, wow, I'm not full screen. So I think that it's definitely clearer. Let me see if I can fix that. I think I just figured it out. Let's see if that updates. I believe I'm full screen now. Okay, can people hear me? I'm testing new software for streaming. There it is, which I believe fixes the audio video sync issue. I was having some audio video sync problems. Is this any better? Can anybody tell me in the chat if it's better? The audio video sync, that is. I know I'm full screen now. People can hear me way clearer. Nice upgrade. It's working. We can hear you. We can hear you. 5x5, full screen. You sound fine. Okay, well, this is good news. This is good news because the previous software I was using did not seem to, there just seemed to be no way to fix the audio video sync. So if it's better, then that's good. I will be previewing stories for tomorrow on this live stream. Super Chat is on. I will be talking a little bit about moderation concerns I've received. By the way, I'm not at all concerned with what's going on with moderation. I think is going swimmingly. But I will be talking a little bit about moderation. I will also be, what else am I going to be doing? We will be doing live shout outs and thank yous to new subscribers to our membership program at davidpakman.com/membership. The coupon code I voted 17 is still working. So a lot of things happening, when I scheduled this stream, I got a bunch of tweets from people saying, am I going to tell the St. Patrick's Day story on the live stream? And the answer is absolutely not. It's a bit of a, it's not an appropriate story for the live stream. What people are referring to is I put on my Instagram on Sunday, and the fact that it was Sunday is key to the story. I put a screenshot of an email. I'm pulling it up myself right now. I put a screenshot of an email referring to public urination in relation to the St. Patrick's Day parade here in Boston on my Instagram account, okay? I'm on Instagram at david.pakman, by the way. I know I've never mentioned that before, so follow me there, david.pakman. And in it, I mentioned that I was, quote, doing what I can to scare off people urinating on the side of the building I live in. And countless people said, David, you have to explain what the doing what you can to scare people off is. That's not... that's too vague. People wanted to know, well, what methods did I use to scare people off who were urinating on the side of my building? I'm not going to retell it here because I told it on the bonus show today, okay? Today's bonus show, the March 21st bonus show, I told the entire story of all the techniques, tactics, and strategies that I used to rid the building, the outside of the building, I should say, of people publicly urinating, and already the number of responses, people finding the story very, very funny. So please sign up at davidpakman.com/membership. Today's bonus show, which you get instant access to when you sign up, contains the entire story, and the coupon code I voted 17 is available. Okay, let me address two super chats, and then I'll jump into some of the stories for tomorrow because news is breaking and things are crazy. Andrew Lincourt sent a $5 super chat saying, go buy yourself a cannoli from Mike's Pastry on me. Okay. Mike's Pastry in the North End, a very, very popular cannoli spot. You know, this may be controversial, but I actually think that although less well known, modern pastries, cannoli, I should say, are probably just as good. $5 super chat from Kingsley DeJenga saying, David, do you think anti-white racism is still racism? I don't even need to say that anti-white racism is still racism. Racism is racism. And this leads also to, I reject the concept of reverse racism. Either something is racist or it's not, right? Either something is falls under the definition of racism or it doesn't, period. And I don't know what else I can really say about that. People are asking in the chat for the Richard Stallman in the cab interview. Okay, it's not an in the cab situation. It is a in my car situation. I interviewed the tech superstar Richard Stallman in our studio not long ago, and afterwards I drove him to the nearest subway stop. I'm not going to tell that story. I've been saving that story for some future point on the bonus show, and I think I'm going to tell it on all of our bonus shows this week are full, so I'm just going to make a note right now for my 327 show, bonus show story, Richard Stallman in the car. Yeah, that's not really a story for what I would call public consumption, so I'm not going to be telling that story on the stream, but I think it's definitely going to be up. Let me put it this way. That story will absolutely rival the public urination story that I told today. Okay, let's see. Now Kingsley DeJenga for $5. Kingsley DeJenga is investing a lot of money in finding out my thoughts about racism targeted at white people. Saying F white people is racist, right? It sounds to me like it probably is. I always like to have context. I don't know how much context you need to figure out that F white people would be racist. I think that's probably racist. I'm trying to think of a situation in which saying F white people wouldn't be racist. If you say F black people, if you say F Latino people, or F Jews, or whatever, I mean, there's probably some scenario where we could say, well, it probably isn't reflective of some actual racism. But it sounds to me like that's probably racist. I don't know. I'm not sure. I have a feeling Kingsley DeJenga is going somewhere with this, but I'm not exactly sure where it is. Okay, let me get into some stories, but before I do that, already I have two new members I want to thank, Lillian Larson and Faith Quintero, both of whom signed up at davidpakman.com/membership using the coupon code I voted 17. Okay. We have an interview it hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's very interesting, and I'm tempted to mention. Let me just say this: we've gotten a tentative yes that a close Trump advisor confidant is interested in being interviewed on our show. Okay, I don't yet have all of the details confirmed, and I think I'm going to leave it there for now, but next week could be a very, very interesting week on the show. Okay, let me dig into some of the stories that we're looking at for tomorrow. We have a great Fox News related story, okay? This story I've not seen anywhere. A viewer personally sent me this story based on something that they recorded off of Fox News that didn't look quite right. I predict that this story is going to go viral. I predict that it's possible that this story may trigger such a reaction that Fox News will actually have to working on a story with our. Did my stream just cut out? I hope it didn't. It looked like my stream may have cut out for a second, but I'm told that it's back. I guess I'm back. Okay. I think I'm back. That was weird. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry about that. Weird when I got interrupted. Anyway, I've been working on this story with our segment producer, Noah Ferguson. And we've got a big story tomorrow related to Fox News that I think is going to be very, very interesting. Also, our audience is in pretty significant disagreement over whether we want to be doing classic interviews on Fridays or double live calls on Fridays. And this is a question that came up. What we used to do on our Friday show is instead of a new interview, I would record like a new intro and commentary for an old interview. And generally people like that, except for the people who hate the interviews, who just skip over it. The last 2 weeks, we've tried doubling up on live calls. So instead of just taking live calls in the second segment on the Friday show, we took live calls on the second and third segments. And I went to the audience on Friday and I said, what would you prefer? Do you want us to go back to classic interviews on Fridays and just have half of the live calls? Or do you want us to keep doubling up on live calls and scrap the classic interviews? Hundreds of emails poured in about this, never mind the YouTube comments and the tweets and whatever else. People are feeling very strongly about this issue, but there is no consensus. Many people said, David, the live calls are terrible. Do the classic interviews. And I had a lot of people who wrote in and said, David, the classic interviews, and actually all interviews in some cases I don't care about, take live calls. I think what we're going to do, and I'm going to talk about this in detail later in the week, or maybe even tomorrow if we have time for it, we have the possibility of just doing every other week. So one week we'll double up on live calls, the next week we'll do a classic interview and sort of go back and forth. I can't think of any other solution that would work well for what seems to be a pretty controversial thing, which I didn't think was even going to be controversial. So we're leaning in that direction, okay? Also on tomorrow's program, we are going to talk about Secretary of State, Russia-associated Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, skipping a NATO meeting and instead traveling to Russia, okay? And this is in the growing. I mean, at this point, who can seriously deny that the Russia story is the scandal that we have believed it to be for a very long time? The FBI is reportedly investigating both InfoWars and Breitbart in a Russia probe that is going on currently and that we know about. Ukrainian officials have confirmed that Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, laundered illegal payments from a pro-Putin party. Major story. Again, Paul Manafort, we all presume, is also part of the focus of the investigation by the FBI that has now been confirmed by James Comey. We know it's going on. There's no denying it. Paul Manafort, who has to be part of that investigation, has been confirmed to have laundered illegal payments. He was Trump's campaign manager. Sean Spicer now doing his dog and pony show, pretending Paul Manafort. Who was Paul Manafort again? He had a minor role. This is now the approach that Sean Spicer and others in the Trump administration are taking. This guy was the co-manager. Manager of Trump's campaign, and then was the chairman of the campaign after he was forced to resign in shame. Okay, absolutely nuts. Also, there's a major labor strike that has been planned for May 1st. We have not talked about it so far. I am going to talk about it. I'll talk about... I always like to not only discuss what the catalysts for protests are, but will the logistics of the protests be effective in ideally spurring change. And we're going to talk about those May 1st protests and just so many other stories, possible stories for tomorrow. Trump has promised big spending on infrastructure. His budget cuts spending on infrastructure. Coffee is increasingly controversial on the show, and I was sent an interesting article that points out what are the best and worst deals for caffeine per dollar, right? So for each dollar spent, where do you get the most and least caffeine? By the way, those energy drinks typically on a dollars per caffeine basis cost way, way more even than Starbucks coffee. And of course, Starbucks coffee, quite expensive. I also have an Amway story. Amway is one of these pyramid schemes, which of course, anybody who supports Amway will say, David, it's not a pyramid scheme. Pyramid schemes are illegal. It's multi-level marketing. Call it what you want. We have a viewer who years ago emailed me saying, David, I don't like that you're criticizing Amway because I'm part of Amway and it's great and I'm going to make a ton of money. 2 years go by. Now he says, David, you were right all along. Amway is a disaster. It's a total scam, and turned over a whole bunch of proprietary internal documents from Amway, including ones that have the talking points that their people are supposed to use when offering these pseudoscience so-called health products. It's all amazing, and I've been trying to squeeze the story, and it's not exactly time sensitive, so it keeps getting put off, but I am going to try to get to that story. Okay, I've got super chats. Let me say thank you to Patrick Taylor. Let me say thank you to Autumn Cassidy, both of whom just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. Patrick Taylor, not only not using the coupon code I voted 17, but actually selecting a level 2 membership, a higher price membership. Thank you very much, Patrick. Patrick carrying the weight of multiple members. And Autumn Cassidy opting to use the coupon code I voted 17. I get just as excited over someone who signs up with the 40% discount code as someone who signs up at level 2, because everybody who signs up, that's buy-in, and that's the money that funds the production of the show. We've got a studio. We produce and give away the show to 200 non-commercial radio and TV stations who wouldn't be able to pay for the show. All of that stuff is funded by members like Autumn and Patrick. So please sign up. I'll keep doing live shout-outs and thank yous during the stream. And if you want 40% off, use the coupon code I voted 17. Okay, let's get to some super chats. $10 super chat from Frank McWright, who says, first of all, shout out to Pat. Very good, thank you. For the question, with so much chaos in such a short time in the beginning of an insane presidency, do you really see it improving? Would you agree that Trump won't change? If we've learned anything from the first 2 months, which have revealed at the top of the list that the new president of the United States is under investigation by the FBI for possibly colluding with a non-friendly foreign power to ascend to the White House, okay? Scandal. People are downplaying this. Republicans during the hearings yesterday, instead of focusing on the fact that Trump may have colluded with Russia, instead they said, you know, we should really prosecute journalists who leaked information relating to what's going on with Russia. And this is very similar to prior leaks where you would have corporate media, rather than focusing on the content of leaks, saying bad people did the leaking. Anyway, if we've learned anything, it's that I don't think it's going to improve. And Trump's approval rating may improve. Trump's approval rating, I covered yesterday, is down to something like 37%. 60 days into his presidency, Trump's approval rating is drastically lower than any other president over the last 40 plus years that Gallup has been doing the daily tracking poll. So I think Trump's approval rating may rebound. 24 million people, well, it wouldn't be all 24 million during Trump's first term, but if millions of people start losing their health insurance, Medicaid, Medicare modifications, subsidies, etc., I think that you are going to see the approval rating continue to decrease. I saw an interesting statistic on Twitter today, did not research it, but I'm going to look at it before tomorrow's show, saying that the number of people who could lose their health care in Pennsylvania alone because of the changes that would happen by repealing Obamacare and putting in the American Health Care Act would be orders of magnitude larger than Trump's margin of victory in the 2016 election in Pennsylvania. I haven't fact-checked it, but it seems plausible. And we could see an approval rating that drops drastically if that happens. I don't think Trump will change. I don't see it improving, Frank. Thanks for that question. Also, we've got another $5 super chat, also from Frank McWright. As I mentioned earlier, the delay will and has returned. It's not really an issue from your side, as it is more on the YouTube network. Okay. Do people agree that the unsynced audio and video is identical right now as it was on the last stream? If anybody can compare, let me take a look at the chat to see what people say. Because I went with completely new software, which any number of people told me will resolve the audio-video sync issue. And a couple people are saying that the audio-video sync is back. Sync is okay, it's hit and miss, it's terrible. Yes, no. There is an offset. I'm not getting a delay. There is no desync. Sync up is fine. Same as before. You're also flickering. Flickering is a brand new issue. So if we're dealing with a delay and flickering. Okay, I'll keep looking into this. Also, people have told me that when they go back and watch the replays of the stream, it's just like jittering in a way, where it's like I'm talking like it. That's the entire replay of the stream. I have no idea what's causing that. I genuinely have no idea what's causing that. A few more super chats here. A lot of action today, by the way. Thank you. A $5 Canadian super chat from Floppy Kid, who says, do you have faith that Comey will conduct a rigorous and objective investigation of Trump's potential Russia ties? 2-letter answer, no. We learned that the Hillary Clinton email investigation and the Trump Russia investigation were both happening simultaneously last summer. However, James Comey only found it necessary to go public with one of those investigations. Some would claim it's because that investigation had concluded, which doesn't really explain why then he came back with a letter saying that he was going to potentially have to consider looking at whether any of Anthony Weiner's emails relate to emails, blah, 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 blah. That explanation's bogus. I have no faith whatsoever that James Comey will conduct a rigorous and objective investigation. I'm glad that one is taking place because that's obviously the correct thing. The people in the chat that I see saying there's nothing to look at with Russia, I don't know what planet you're living on. I don't know how any logical person could come to that conclusion at this point. But I am not confident that we can trust Comey's investigation. I hope that it's a trustworthy and rigorous investigation, but I'm not confident in that. GameFire74, $8.91 super chat, asking, should Obama press charges against Trump? Also, what are the implications of a worst-case scenario with Russia? In other words, what happens to us? Okay, should Obama press charges against Trump? For what? I know some people have said that the allegation of wiretapping is potentially libelous. I don't know that that's the case because how is Obama damaged by Trump falsely claiming that Obama wiretapped him? So I don't know what the charges would be, GameFire. It's an interesting question. I just don't know what the charges would be. Second part of the question, what are the implications of the worst case scenario with Russia? You know, even if, I've been thinking about this quite a bit lately, even if we determine beyond any reasonable doubt, if that's even possible, that Russia was involved with Trump, the implications may be related to sort of the oligarchical, kleptocratic tendencies that we're seeing, and it may all relate to oil. And this has been something that many in our audience have been suggesting to me, which is if you look at Tillerson, if you look at some of the moves that have been made with regard to Arctic drilling in which Russia has a say, there's one hypothesis, which is all the Russia collusion is a disaster, but it may all relate to oil, which is horrible. I mean, I'm not minimizing that in any way. But, you know, could this pretext of oil lead to an authoritarian police state in the United States of sorts? Probably not. But the worst case scenario could also be pretty damn bad. And we're working on a piece on this, so I don't want to put the cart before the horse before we've sort of finished our assessment. $2 super chats from M. Romero and Frank McWright. Frank saying one more just for support. Thank you. Thank you to everybody there. The chat is on fire. Last stream, we had about 25 messages per minute. And today, messages per minute are floating between 40 and 60 messages per minute, even accounting for people being banned and blocked and comments deleted, which gets me to the next thing I want to talk about. So let's see. I had a little agenda here for today. Talked about the St. Patrick's Day story. I will do new member shout outs as they come in. I talked about some of tomorrow's stories. I talked about upcoming live calls versus classic interviews on Fridays. Okay, so we're getting things, getting through our list here. There have been a number of complaints I've received from people saying, David, I was banned during one of your live streams, and all I said was, and typically it's something insane, all I said was, Jew, Jew, Jew. Jew, 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 even if you're just saying, well, David, you are a Jew, so I'm merely saying Jew, 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 it's trolling. It's obvious trolling. It's not going to be tolerated. People don't like it by and large. It's a distraction. It's lame. And I have deputized a handful of moderators, 2 to 3 of whom seem to appear on most of the streams, much to my pleasure, and much to the dismay of trolls. I have fully deputized them to block and ban and time people out and delete comments as necessary, okay? For people who are trying to complain right now on the stream that they've been banned, I'm not seeing your comments because you've been banned. And that's really, really a great thing. And I do want to restate that is, my new view about trolling. I used to just say when I would address trolling, I feel bad for the trolls. It's sad to me. I watch all sorts of different shows, TV, radio, blah, 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 blah. I've got things to do. It would never even occur to me to start trolling people with anti-Semitic or xenophobic or homophobic or whatever comments. It would never occur to me. So when I think about what sort of life situation must these trolls have, I do become sad because they probably don't have anything much better to do. However, when I said that, a bunch of people reached out to me and they said, David, you may be totally justified in feeling sad for these trolls, but they have an impact. By showing up in the comments and putting up all sorts of insane comments and insults and whatever, they are actually preventing reasonable debate about important issues that relate to the future of our country from being had. And as a result, I've changed my view, which is, yes, I feel sad for the trolls. It's sad to me to imagine what someone's life must be like to go home or be on their phone or at work or whatever and just be insulting people online. But it's important not to allow the important political conversations to be derailed. And thus, we have a handful of moderators who, again, I have deputized to follow through with preventing obvious trolling, okay? A whole bunch of new members that I want to give thank yous to. I left off with Autumn Cassidy. So thank you to Kingsley DeJenga for signing up at davidpakman.com/membership. Thank you to Matteo Pascale for signing up at davidpakman.com/membership. Hannah Tollander, as well as Nadine Ulbrich, all of whom signed up at davidpakman.com/membership, many of whom used the coupon code IVoted17. The coupon code gives you 40% off. You don't lose anything as far as benefits when you use the coupon code. You save 40%, but you still receive 100% of the benefits. And I will remind you, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, I'll say it again. For people who saw my Instagram post on Sunday, which was a screenshot of an email I wrote to people in my building titled People Urinating All Over. I'm on Instagram at david.pakman. Follow me there. Check out the email. People have been asking for the explanation to that story. I told it on today's bonus show. Bonus show is one of the member benefits. First thing I would do if I were to sign up is watch or listen to the March 21st bonus show, and you will get the explanation of that story. By the way, also on my Instagram account, I got a prototype David Pakman Show coffee mug. Now that we're selling David Pakman Show coffee on our website, many people, tremendous people, the best people who watch our show have been asking for David Pakman Show coffee mugs. I got one sample made and posted the picture to my Instagram account. People seem to like it, so you can check that out. I posted a stack of my nonfiction, the 6 most recent nonfiction books I read. I posted that to my Instagram at david.pakman. And also, most recently, I posted a truly insane hate mail written to me today with the title Treasonous Scumbag. I won't read the entire hate mail to you, but that's my most recent post on my Instagram account, david.pakman. So I would encourage you to follow me there. There's just a lot of really interesting and also very disturbing stuff going on there. Okay. I've got a couple more super chats to talk about here. Felipe Garcia has sent a $5 super chat saying, if Trump and his campaign and Pence are proven guilty of colluding, what happens next? Redo a presidential election? You know, I've not gotten a straight answer on this. Number one, I believe, I actually believe that we're quite far from either a resignation or an impeachment from Trump. Let me just take a sip of water here. And because I believe we're quite far from that, I've not looked in too much detail into the legal repercussions of impeachment versus resignation versus some kind of proof of collusion with Russia being proven or something like that. My belief is that if there were to be an impeachment, that the repercussions in terms of what happens next would be different than if there were a resignation. In the case of a resignation, Mike Pence would take over. I actually am not sure about that. I haven't looked at that in detail. I do not believe, let me put it a different way. Only the most extreme intervention in circumstances could even remotely lead to the possibility of redoing an election. I don't know legally what, if anything, would lead to that. And maybe if people in the comments have a sense of that, they could comment on that. We have a 100, is this Swedish kroner? SEK, is that Swedish kroner? A 100 Swedish kroner super chat from Ms. M. Dip saying Colombia's vice president resigned today in order to run in 2018. Does requiring officials to resign prevent unfair elections, or does it open them up to other influences as private citizens? It depends. It's not cut and dry. It depends on the situation. We've talked about, so take term limits in the US, for example. I am generally an advocate of term limiting members of the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate. I've talked about why. That doesn't mean that there aren't negatives to doing it. You potentially are, not everybody wants to serve, and you're potentially taking good people and saying, you're no longer needed here. I think it's a pretty flaccid critique in the sense that, you know, we have a population of, 320, 330 million people in the U.S., you're going to have a great talent pool of people to draw from. But I don't have a strong feeling on that. I wasn't aware, by the way, of that situation with Colombia's vice president, but I will look into it. Okay, Jennifer Carrain sent a $5 super chat saying, please explain that freedom of speech is so the government doesn't infringe on someone's speech, not your ability to ban trolls. Oh, are people talking about freedom of speech in the comments? It's always so quaint when people don't like being blocked on an internet channel and they say that there's some kind of freedom of speech issues that are going on. Yeah, the First Amendment and freedom of speech don't apply to my 5 volunteer moderators blocking or banning you on my YouTube channel, if that's what people were saying. I genuinely didn't see that, though, if that's what people were saying. I would recommend to you, I want to be super clear about how to recommend this, so I'm just going to look it up. Let me see here. There's a particular interview that I did, which was really good about the First Amendment. And it's actually called, Why Can't They Understand the First Amendment? It's a 13-minute interview with a legal expert named Bert Newborn, who's professor of civil liberties at NYU's law school and the former legal director of the ACLU. In 13 minutes, you will understand everything that the right-wing trolls don't get about the First Amendment. Okay, so very good point, Jennifer. $10 super chat from Jennifer Carrain was the last one, from We Are Going Somewhere. Assuming Trump is removed, do you think healthcare bill becomes significantly better? Wife dealing with stage 4 breast cancer. Very sorry to hear that. Super scared of losing insurance. We already struggle. If Trump is removed, does the healthcare bill become better? You know, I'm not sure. And the reason I'm not sure is Donald Trump at least claimed during the campaign that no one was going to lose health insurance as a result of his repeal and replacement of Obamacare, and that anyone who can't afford it will have it paid for by the government. That won't happen under the Republican plan as currently proposed, which we've now found out Donald Trump was involved in the writing of. So it's possible. I mean, Trump's rhetoric on this issue was more to the left of what the proposed bill is. So I would worry that if Trump is removed from office somehow, right? We don't even have to speculate about how, but assuming that it happens, I would actually be worried that the healthcare proposal becomes even worse. It's just sad. I mean, it's a downer. But that is a concern of mine. As clueless as Trump is, he at least might, and he's broken so many campaign promises. I don't know why I'm even saying this, but he might have to at least try to do something that would be reflective of what he promised during the campaign. $2 super chat from Angry Bastards, who doesn't have a comment. But just sent a $2 super chat. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. We also have a number of other new members I want to say thank you to. While I've just been chatting with people here, Mary Kormansik Tafarolo signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. Ben Shart signed up at that. Now that's funny because I'm realizing the way I said it sounds like, I don't remember what movie that was, maybe Old School, where the term sharded was created. And I'm now realizing that even though I pronounced it the same way, the last name is not spelled even remotely in that way. And if that's not the way it's pronounced, I apologize. But Ben Shards, I'm digging a deeper hole here, signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. Please don't cancel because of this little incident. Been using the coupon code I voted 17. Gabriel Falconhead has ordered a bag of David Pakman Show coffee while I was chatting. And Benjamin Wechter has also signed up at davidpakman.com/membership with the coupon code I voted 17. Once again, I do tell on the March 21st, 2017 bonus show, I do tell the full St. Patrick's Day public urination story. And I think that is going to, I think it's going to be something a lot of people find interesting. Angry Bastards has sent a follow-up $5 super chat saying, would you agree that Donald Trump's action of stripping Obamacare is an act of violence to the public? Well, it depends how you define violence. If you define violence as any action which will lead to the death of other people, it's absolutely violent. I just read an estimate that if Obamacare is repealed, and the American Health Care Act, the AHA, known as Republicare, Crony Care, Trump Care, call it what you want. If it is enacted as proposed, 17,000 people would die next year due to lack of access to medical care. How can you argue that a decision that will lead to 17,000 deaths isn't a violent decision? Although I admit I didn't think about it in those terms. Thanks for bringing it up because I think there's a lot to that. We've got a $15 super chat from Amber Williams, not sending a comment or question, just sending $15. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that from Amber. Okay, so we talked about what was on my Instagram. I already gave my sort of speech, soliloquy about complaints about being blocked and banned. I am able to review after the streams all moderator actions. So in the same way that Justice Department surveillance must be approved by a FISA court, I do review moderator actions, and so far I have not seen anything that I am concerned about. The moderators are doing a heck of a job, absolute heck of a job. Okay, let me talk about an interview that we have on the program tomorrow, and I always hesitate to preview interviews because interviews get shifted around or rescheduled or there's a tech issue or something. But we are scheduled to have the great Lawrence Krauss on the program tomorrow for a two-part interview. Part 1 tomorrow, Wednesday, March 22nd. Part 2, Thursday, March 23rd. We're going to talk sort of mostly about his new book, The Greatest Story Ever Told So Far. But he's always very, very interested in taking questions from the audience. So if you have specific questions for Lawrence Krauss, try to tie it into the book in some way. Not that he cares, but I think his publicists sort of officially want this to be an interview about the book. And I will try to get some of those questions to Lawrence Krauss. He is a really, really good guest, and I'm excited to have him on. We've got the alt-right, right-wing movement expert, Chip Burlett, who's going to be on the show next week. Fantastic interview. We're going to have Tressie Cotton. That's not cotton, the fabric, but cotton on the show to talk about the disaster of for-profit colleges and universities. And then on next Thursday, I think, we're going to be interviewing James Whitman. Do I have his book here? I don't. James Whitman wrote a book about how the Nazi Nuremberg laws were actually influenced to some degree by discrimination laws in the US, not something a lot of people know about, never mind talk about. And we're also going to talk with him about similarities between pre-World War II Germany and what we are seeing in the rhetoric of the Trump administration today. Now, stop immediately. I'm not saying Trump is Hitler. I'm not saying Trump is Hitler. I am against irrational, inaccurate parallels being drawn between whoever and Hitler, okay? However, we can still recognize that in terms of rhetoric, there are similarities between some of the ideas put forth by the Trump administration and some of the policies and pre-World War II Germany. So we'll be talking to James Whitman next week. I also mentioned that we have the great legal scholar Cass Sunstein scheduled for early April. It's going to be tremendous, and already booking into May. I'm currently reading, I also don't have this book here. I'm reading a book called, I think it's The Sum of Small Things. It's not yet been released. It's by Elizabeth Currid Halkett, and it is about what she describes as the new elites, the aspirational class, as she talks about it. So a lot of really, really good interviews coming up that if you hate the interviews, you're going to miss some good stuff. We've got a $1 super chat from Indian Atheist. Thank you very much. I've got a £2 British super chat from Mr. Twazo asking my view on the Next News Network. Is it InfoWars Light? I've never heard of it. Let's see. Next News Network. I guess it belongs to Gary Frankie or Franchi. I've never heard of that person. They have a Patreon account, which currently is bringing in how much money? $893 per month. Not exactly a large enterprise currently. Hey, you know what? I wonder if the person that sent the super chat is associated with Next News Network and just wanted me to mention it, because it seems like Next News Network doesn't really have much going on. And $2 of publicity might go a long way for them at this point. Let me just check their size on YouTube. Oh, on YouTube, they're huge. 480,000 subscribers on YouTube. All right, so I spoke too soon. I know nothing about them. I have no idea what they do. Let's look at some of their video titles and see what the deal is. What Donald Trump just said on Fox News will make Elizabeth Warren start crying tears of fear. Yeah. Cleared. What James Comey just confirmed about Trump and Russia should shut Democrats up for good. Yeah. I'm going to do one more of these, and then I think we'll have to probably put a stop to this. I don't want to make people on the stream sick. Warning, Hillary Clinton just said the words Americans prayed they would never have to hear. Also, all their video titles are in all caps. My immediate impression is not to think particularly highly of the Next News Network, although, again, I don't know I don't know that much about it, but it's not looking too good. Okay, a few other new members who just signed up while I've been talking at davidpakman.com/membership. Membership is the #1 funding source for our program. We do a daily extra show just for our paid subscribers called the Bonus Show. On today's bonus show, March 21, 2017, I told what I am calling the full story of the St. Patrick's Day public urination debacle. Okay, so the first thing I would do after you sign up at davidpakman.com/membership is go to our website, get logged in, go to the members only section, and watch or listen to today's bonus show. I think you will find it compelling to say the least. Hannah Tollander sent a 50, I believe again it's Swedish kroner, super chat, saying, if you got to pick the new president to be sworn in tomorrow, who would you pick? See, here's the thing. If I truly were given the option of picking the new president, I could tell you with certitude, I don't know who that person would be. Because we have a system where only certain people can become president, I don't even know. I don't even research who the really great people would be, because they're people you and I have probably never heard of, right? There are people in science. There are people in humanities. There are people in the law. Fine, people complain about too many lawyers in politics. There are people in the law who are not the types of lawyers that often end up making it into the U.S. Senate, for example. That would be really, really good people to have running our country. I don't know their names. So what I could tell you is if I got to pick the new president, I would do a lot of research and I would come up with a name that I'm sure I have never heard of at this point. Now, that being said, there's many people in popular culture that I think would be upgrades from Donald Trump. Obviously, I think Bernie Sanders, the person I supported in the Democratic primary, although I'm unaffiliated politically, I can vote in either primary here in Massachusetts. I voted in the Democratic primary and voted for Bernie Sanders, would be better than Donald Trump. Many of the authors of books that I've been reading, I think would be. I mean, let's just do this, okay? Will and Ariel Durant, they are no longer with us. They are both deceased. I believe that either of them would have been better presidents than Donald Trump. This is just my stack of recently read nonfiction books. Okay, Waves of Rancor. Hillard and Keith. No, this way. Hillard and Keith are the authors. You know, I don't know much about either of them, but based on the research that went into this book, they'd probably be better presidents than Donald Trump. Natasha Dow Schull. This is kind of fun, I must admit. Natasha Dow Schull. Would she be a better president than Donald Trump? This is a book about machine gambling and addictive video poker and slot machines and how casinos are designed. Probably. She would probably be a better president. This one is, I think, going to be easy for all of us. Daniel Kahneman, author of Thinking Fast and Slow, which I recently finished. Trying to get an interview with Daniel Kahneman. We'll be recommending this on the show upcoming. There is no doubt in my mind that a thinker like Daniel Kahneman would be a much better president than Donald Trump, although he wouldn't be able to be president because he is not born in the United States. So anyway, that's sort of my view on that. $5 Canadian super chat from Floppy Kid. Do I have any thoughts on the ceiling for internet political analysts and pundits such as yourself? Is TYT the pinnacle or ideal? Is the market too crowded? No, I think that we have quite the opposite going on, okay? Right now, the pie is actually growing. So media consumption, there's some limit. We have 24 hours in a day. People's media consumption is limited to some portion of that 24-hour day. And there is, of course, some limit to the number of programs people can watch or consume. I think we are in a phase where distrust in corporate media, combined with the realization that we are going towards a dystopian authoritarian direction under the current administration, is growing the pie. And we're seeing it. And what's the proof is sort of in the pudding, which is, and by the way, I'm going to announce something that I think many of you will like. It relates to Secular Talk and Kyle Kulinski and this topic in a second. Many progressive shows are growing. The shows that are well produced and reliably produced, where you can count on content on a regular basis. We're